guys, my name's Joel Prue from PWS Studios and the Home Recording Network, where I am trying to help you make label quality music from your homes. And I decided to make a quick tutorial on compression for beginners to show you visually what a compressor is doing to your tracks. I had a tough time understanding compression when I first started, so I decided to put this out there to see if I can help anyone out. Enjoy! Alright guys, so I'm going to show you visually what compression is doing to your track. So what I'm going to do is I have a snare track here, and I'm going to put some compression on it a couple different ways and actually bounce the track and show you what the waveform looks like after it's compressed. Before I do that, I just wanted to open up a compressor and just walk through some of the settings real quick. So for this example, I'm using the FG401 compressor from Steven Slate, and this compressor is kind of a typical compressor. So on most compressors, you'll have a threshold, ratio, attack, release, and makeup gain. Some have a mix knob. This one does, but not all do. So let's talk about threshold first. The threshold is how loud the signal has to be before it starts being compressed. So if you have it set at -30 dB, once it goes over that threshold, the compressor is going to start working or compressing. Next is the ratio. So this determines how much compression will be applied once the signal goes over the threshold. So if it's set at 2-to-1 ratio, then if it goes over the threshold by 2 dB, it's going to be turned down to 1 dB over the threshold. If it's set at 2-to-1 and it goes over by 8 dB, it's going to be turned down so that it's 4 dB over the threshold. Now the attack is how quickly the compressor is going to act or compress the signal that goes over the threshold. So I'll show you this in a minute when I bounce this track after I compress it a little bit, but I'll show you what that looks like. The release determines how soon the compression will stop after the signal dips below the threshold. So for more transparent compression, you kind of want a slower release, and then for more upfront and noticeable compression, it's usually a bit faster for things like vocals and drums. The makeup gain just allows you to add more volume back to the signal once it's compressed. So we're kind of flattening the signal, making everything quieter by bringing it into this compressor, and then if we need more overall volume after, you have this makeup gain option to add some more volume back. Some compressors have a mix knob, which allows you to mix the dry and the compressed signal together. So at 100% here, it's going to be all of the compressed signal. At 50, it's going to mix 50% of the original signal and 50% of the compressed signal. So that's kind of a cool option for more transparent compression. Alright, so let's jump into the good stuff. So when I first started using compression, I didn't know how to set my attack and release times on my tracks. I struggled with that, and that's what I kind of want to help you guys out with. So I'm going to bounce the track a couple different ways to show you what this attack is doing. So on a snare or a tom or a kick, I typically like to use a slow attack and a fast release. So I'm going to compress this at a 4-to-1 ratio. This is what it sounds like before the compression. Now I'm going to turn the compression on. This is what it sounds like once the compression's added. Alright, so it's quieter, so we can probably add some makeup gain back to it. Alright, so now I'm going to bounce this signal. So I'm going to call it snare slow attack. And then I'm just going to mute that, and I'm going to go back to this snare, and I'm going to now make it a fast attack. This is what it sounds like with a fast attack. All right, so it's a lot quieter and there's not as much punch to it, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. So I'm going to bounce this now. And I'm going to call it snare fast attack. All right, so now we can look at the difference between these compressed signals. So zoom in here. So the slow attack, you can see it lets some of that transient through. And then the fast attack squashes that first spot where the stick hits the drum. So typically with drums, we want to hear that punch. We want punchier drums. We don't want to destroy the transient. Now, you can easily tell which one sounds better. So the slow attack sounds like this, a lot of punch. And the fast attack, the hit of the drum is completely destroyed. Show you the difference again. Here's the slow attack. Here's the fast. So that's why with certain instruments we want a slow attack. We want to maintain or keep that transient in there so we can hear the snap or the pop of the drums. With things like vocals, we don't want any transients popping out. We want the signal to be even while the singer's singing, so we bring it down to maybe a faster or a medium attack because we want all the notes he's singing to be around the same level. Same goes for bass guitar or electric guitar. We don't typically want a ton of dynamics in there. Now, there are certain cases, like say it's just a song with a piano and a singer. Maybe you do want a slower attack on the piano because you want to maintain some dynamic range. But usually my rule of thumb is drums get a slower attack. Mostly everything else gets a medium or a faster attack. Now, my release time on everything is usually somewhere from fast to medium fast on everything. I never really have a slow release on anything. The key here is if you want something to be more powerful or more upfront, then you give it a super fast attack. If you want it to be put back in the mix a little bit more, then you can go ahead and go for a medium or medium fast release. Guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to download your free Ultimate Home Studio Mix Guide. I made this for you guys so you could start getting your mixes sounding better. There's a lot of great information in there. And be sure to reach out if you have any questions or if you need any help with your mixes. Thanks.